you see the title, you know what this video is about. Let's jump straight into it. By the way, I think that deserves a like and a subscribe. All right, so first thing that I wish I knew before starting Airbnb would be reviews, reviews, reviews. Now you're gonna keep seeing me looking down because I got my nose right here. But when it comes to reviews, you guys, I did not realize just how Airbnb reviews people, right? And so their review system is based on 5 stars essentially. I'm just super simplifying for the purpose of this video. I can go into more detail at another video another time. But essentially you can get between, 1 to 5 stars. And so with that being the case, if someone were to rate you 4 out of 5 stars, anywhere else you would think 4 stars out of 5 stars, that's not bad. That's technically an 80%. That's pretty good. Like if it were myself, I would still book with someone that had an overall 4-star out of 5-star rating. Not too bad. However, what people don't realize is that Airbnb truly penalizes hosts for getting anything less than a 5-star. So that's a whole nother thing. You guys, like this is a topic that hosts constantly go back and forth. This is a big conversation topic, Airbnb's rating system, and many hosts feel like Airbnb needs to reevaluate this, myself included. But yeah, so you don't realize how detrimental anything less than a 5-star is. And so what that means for me, whenever I'm looking for Airbnbs for my own self, if I stay there and there might have been minor issues, but things that were outside of the host control, it will make me rethink about giving them something less than a 5-star. Either I won't review them at all, or I will just give them a 5-star. And if I have additional comments, I can still put it in the comment section. But basically it's really detrimental to give a host anything less than a 5-star. So I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how important it is to make sure you work to earn your 5-star. And also as far as talking about the guests, guests also come with reviews. And so for a lot of people just getting started, you might decide, I'm only going to stick with well-reviewed guests that have, only a 4-star out of, a 4-star minimum, whatever the case may be. I do know of several people that also will not pay attention to guest ratings and they will just let anyone book their place. I do screen all of my guests just because, I don't want to invite kind of nonsense, whatever the case may be, into my Airbnb. So reviews, that's a big one. Let's see. Next one is going to be, these I kind of put together, which is like sleeping in your place and then considering neighbors. Now, I know this video is the non-obvious things about Airbnb. I do feel like a part of that is kind of obvious, but I'm still throwing it in for razzle dazzle. Definitely make sure you sleep at your place before you rent it out, because you're going to be able to pick up little nuances. There are certain things that you'll only find out by sleeping there that you otherwise are not likely to find out. Or even if you would find them out without sleeping, it will take you weeks or possibly months when you could just find that out on day one. So it's better for you to, like, the less surprised you are, the better going into this, and honestly, any business venture. Also with that, I have consider your neighbors. This one I would put so many stars next to. This is a big deal, right? So I have 3 different Airbnbs, but for the one that I use for short-term rentals, and we'll get into that later, for the one that I use for short-term rentals, I have a neighbor that is so helpful. Every time I go over, if there's anything that maybe is a simple maintenance fix, he's very willing to help me. So I'm super grateful for him in terms of that. But I cannot imagine if we had a bad relationship. That would suck, especially because it is short-term rental. So that means I have different people in and out, and so many different faces in just one week. And that can easily annoy your neighbors. So with this, it's better to just have a good relationship with the neighbors, go out of your way to just do whatever it takes to have a good relationship with them. These are going to be the people that you call, if there is something wrong and you're not there. If you have a good relationship, they can reach out to you and call you, as opposed to calling the cops directly, or as opposed to just doing another more drastic measure. It is worth it to take the extra step to just try to have a good relationship. Let them know that you're doing Airbnb ahead of time, because again, just like it's better for you to have less surprises, it's also better for them to not be so surprised, at least not surprised negatively. Now, the other thing I will say with that is noise, right? So before you even get your Airbnb location, consider that if you know you're going to offer short-term rentals where people are in and out all the time, that has its own set of issues that will be different from midterm and long-term stays, right? So if you're maybe looking at an apartment that's on the first floor and you're going to have people on the second and third floor, you need to think about how that noise might affect your neighbors. And trust me, unfortunately, I have had my fair share of noise complaints, and it sucks because there's not so much that you can do, right? When there's someone that's on top of my guests and they're just moving around, walking, they have heavy feet, or it's late at night and they're making noise, it's kind of a tough spot to be in. So that is something I really wish I considered with that particular unit. That is actually the first one that I've ever had to consider upstairs neighbors. So yeah, I'm not saying that I would not have still went through with that unit, but it would have just been nice to be a little bit more aware of that, right? And so knowing that you might consider other options. So in terms of, you might consider other things that you can do to help mitigate the noise problems. So whether that's, maybe asking your neighbor to like put some carpet down, or making sure that there's enough stuff in your place to kind of help absorb the sound. Some people talk about soundproofing a place, but I've read mixed reviews on that. Now, by the way, if you guys have any tips for me, I will take them. So please, I really do mean this. This is not just for engagement purposes. I am serious. If you have any tips that can help little old me when it comes to guests complaining about the upstairs neighbor, please do let me know. That is something that I've experienced. So let's move on. Let's see. Next thing, tip number 3 is about maintenance. Now this one definitely maintenance issues will come up. So just be prepared for them. Just make sure that you have some kind of plan, and I would specify having a plan B. Recently, this past weekend, I actually had, it was an AC issue, and unfortunately the main technician was out of town until Monday, and the guest left on Monday. So that, you guys, that is actually a different story. I think I might make an entire video actually on maybe like issues that have come up, and just kind of ask you all like, what would you do? How would you have handled this situation? Because it's something to consider. So just having a plan for maintenance and having a plan B, a plan C, a plan D is always better to be over prepared than under prepared. You might think, this is a new renovated place, such as my place is renovated. This is a new renovated place. There's not going to be too many issues. Sure, it might be less issues than normal, but it's silly to think there will be zero issues, for the entire time that you have Airbnb. So it's definitely worth it to have a very clear maintenance plan. If there's a maintenance issue that comes up, this is how I'm going to handle it. If my plan A doesn't go well, this is how my plan B, this is my plan C, this is how I'm going to sort of make peace with the guests. What can you do? There's a lot of options that you can give to the guests, but just make sure that you carefully think about a lot of those. So, and prepare for the unexpected. You might say, oh, I'm good, I have a maintenance tech. What happens when that maintenance tech is out of town? What happens when you cannot reach them? What are you then going to do? What area do you live in? Do you live in a climate where it's really, really, really hot, such as Texas, where you might say, you know what, it's probably a good idea for me to have some additional AC units, or it's probably a good idea for me to have extra fans on standby. Or maybe do you live in really cold climates? I don't, but you can brainstorm. You kind of see where I'm going. So be mindful of maintenance. Now, tip number 4 is join a community. Now, this is something, to be fair, even though I put it on things I wish I knew before starting Airbnb, I knew to do this, but it's so important that I wanted to include it here because I think a lot of people could overlook it. So even if you're just thinking about doing it, if you're just dreaming about the possibilities, it's smart and it costs $0 and 0 cents to join a community. There are Facebook groups, there's Reddit groups, you can find groups all over. So definitely consider, joining a group of other Airbnb hosts so that you guys can help each other, give each other's tips and tricks. I've used that. It has helped me tremendously. And you learn from other people's mistakes without having to kind of go through them firsthand. You can say, oh, I didn't consider this situation. How would I react to this? Oh yeah, this person recommends having 3 cleaners, on hand instead of just 2. I was thinking of just having 2. It's really nice to have that community. It helps a lot, and it is absolutely invaluable. So that's good if you're just thinking about it. And definitely if you are already a host, I'm not sure why you're not already in a community. I would say that's true for anything that you do. If you're considering, becoming a nurse, join a community of nurses already. Find nursing groups forums and just see what they're talking about, see what their issues are, see what other nurses wish they knew before they became a nurse, whatever the case may be. You can apply this to different areas of life. And last but not least, all right, so tip number 5 is just short-term versus mid-term versus long-term stays. And essentially with this, as I mentioned, I have 3 different Airbnbs. One is short-term, the other 2 are long-term. So you need to consider the pros and cons because each one has pros and cons, right? I've listened to so many podcasts. I've gathered a lot of information before starting. I've also had some friends kind of help me out with this. So kudos to anyone who has helped me out on my Airbnb journey. But you need to consider what's going to be best for you and what's best for your location and what's best for the neighbors. All of that is super, super important. I can tell you right now, the unit that I have right now where I do short-term stays, I will not be renewing my lease there. I'm not. This video isn't about that, so I won't go into detail here. I can definitely make another video on that, but I'm not going to be renewing my lease. And moving forward, I definitely am preferring midterm and long-term rentals. Although many people say short-term is really where the largest profit is. And I do agree. I don't think that's wrong, but it is absolutely a lot of work, especially if you're managing everything yourself. You can always get a team, obviously that will cut into your profits. So you really have to weigh the pros and the cons, but there are serious pros and cons to each one. I'll give you just one quick one with short-term rentals. If someone were to damage your property, you could find out about that quickly. If someone's only there for 2 days, then your property has only been damaged for a max of 2 days, before you find out. If you have someone that's staying there long-term, you have someone that's staying there for 4 months and they damage your property, you won't know that it's damaged, for 4 months. So that's one thing to consider. Obviously, the cleaning in between. Do you want to be going every single day cleaning in between guests, or would you rather clean once a week, or would you rather clean, once every 2 months? That is a factor too. So there's a lot of other factors. Again, that's a topic for another video, but that's definitely something to consider. I'm so happy for my experience so far. I am willing to continue, but I want to pivot. So I would like to move away from short-term and definitely move more to midterm and long-term rentals. Hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Feel free to leave it in the comments below. Feel free to reach out to me on IG. And I will see you next time. I definitely plan on making more Airbnb videos.